Hey, everybody, we want to welcome you to Heart with Dan and
Angela.
And we're glad you joined us tonight. And we have a very important subject to talk with you tonight. And as you know, recently I visited the assembly. Angela and I visited the assembly just the last day, the last half day, but that was enough to speak, volumes, what we saw. And but what we wanted to talk about tonight was the how on earth, how is governing body continuing this facade? I'm going to talk about two things. One is the how they're keeping this facade going. And the second thing I want to talk about is why. Why are they keeping this thing going? Yeah, you know what I mean? Because what we've learned, and the facade is paradise tomorrow. It's like a simulation or a mirage, how you say, wow, there's water out there, and then all of a sudden it disappears.
Yeah.
Well, that's what the paradise has been like for Jehovah's Witnesses, right? It was first 75. I mean, it goes back 100 years. You can go online and you can go back even to the 1800s and see the false prophecies all the way up to 1800s, 19 that did not come true.
Yeah.
But Watchtower has brilliantly been able to keep this facade alive. And I realized recently that governing body has run out of lies. They've run out of lies. Actually, I watched one of the governing bodies the other day talk about the generation prophecy. I wanted to hand him a shovel. I mean, the shit was rising. I mean, he was just making it up as he goes, this big, long, and I could have summed it up for him real easy. 70 or 80 years from 1914, the end's going to come, right? That's what we were told. We had the Paradise book. We were out there preaching, this generation will by no means pass away until all these things occur, including the Great Tribulation. And the generation that saw this, the beginning of it was 1914, World War I, World War II. And then 70 or 80 years from that, that was it. Now, before that, they had the 1975 prophecy, right? A lot of people lost their homes. Well, I happened to be in the generation one, the one after that I was heavily involved in the witnesses.
Then what do they do with their homes? Just curious.
Well, they either sign them over to governing body or, I mean, if the world's going to end, who cares? Why don't you stop paying on them, whatever you want to do, right? Who cares? The world's going to end tomorrow.
They lost their home somehow.
Yeah, they lost their home.
Believe a lot.
Lots of them lost it.
Yeah.
And so I got out with the generation prophecy when I saw they were starting to change it. A generation isn't a generation as we know it. And here's the new one. And then it bloomed into the overlapping generation. But here's the thing. The Watchtower has run out of lies. Nobody wants to hear these babbling old men lie anymore. Even though they've invested everything, they've invested all their money, their whole life, all their energies, all their wealth. You know what I mean? A lot of people have lost a lot of money. They didn't get a chance to go to school. They didn't pursue careers. They didn't do anything.
Didn't take care of their dental.
Right.
Yeah, so many things.
And so when you listen to these guys, nobody wants to hear them anymore. I mean, if you go to a kingdom hall or an assembly, nobody wants to hear the governing body or these men rattle off dates or, end time prophecies or anything. So they had to change it up. And Watchtower did change it up, as you and I saw. They changed it up majorly. They've got a system in place. I'm just going to tell you, they've got a system in place where they don't even need kingdom halls. You saw the tablets. It went from the cell phones to the tablets, to the jw.org app.
Yeah, during COVID, they didn't need the halls.
No. And now they've moved from, it kind of went to a YouTube kind of channel, it was kind of, this is how they were building,
Yeah.
And so you could see the progression from phone to big iPad. Everybody's got iPads there, and they've been trained exquisitely how to use them. And
the Seventh-day Adventists have their own satellite.
Yes.
So I think I'm sure they considered that.
Well, that's what they're going with Ramapo. See, like I said, nobody wants to hear the babbling old men in Bethel anymore.
True.
So what they've done, what governing body's done is they've turned it into television. They've turned it into theater. Now people get to watch movies. Now think about it. At the last assembly, there was 70 videos. 70 videos. Do you know why? Because people love watching videos. Who wants to hear an old man up there bullshitting everybody, stumbling over his words, half-hearted, which I saw there. The men that actually talked, I felt like a lot of them were half-hearted.
Yeah.
They weren't sincere
oh
about
man,
what they
that's
were
so
talking
true.
about. We're like, man, this guy's, where's his heart?
I know.
His heart
It
wasn't
was
in it.
weird.
So, so the guy says, "Aren't you glad we had 70 videos?" And everyone's like, "Oh yeah, yeah," because a video will keep you entertained.
That's right. And they use an app. So instead of having a satellite like Seventh-day Adventists do, they've gotten more modern. And now that you get an app and you go on and look at all these videos, they're all listed one after the other on their tablets to watch.
Yes.
And then the newest one pops up and they watch it,
Yep.
you know, kind of like you do on your iPhone looking at YouTube's. So yeah, it's interesting. They're getting into modern times.
Yeah, and so you know, when we went to the assembly, they had a kind of a motion picture.
Right.
You know, they don't even need Ramapo, and I'm going to tell you what Ramapo is.
Mm.
Ramapo is a piece of property, an expensive piece of property
Yes,
that Watchtower will own and be able to sell once they have these easy pickings, these brainwashed people to pay for it all, right? That's what the guy told us there.
Yeah.
He said, "We don't operate, what is it, the black or the red or whatever?"
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, he said, "Everything's paid for before we begin it."
They're
in the black. So he says, "We're waiting to collect all the money from the people so that we can build you a brainwashing machine that goes 24/7 around the clock." Think about that.
And again, the idea is to train the people that don't make it so that, you know, what in the they come back in the resurrection and then they're beginning to be trained by the Jehovah's Witnesses. And that's the idea of why they say they need that property, right? And
Yeah.
it was the same thing on the other property. What was that one called?
I forget what it was.
The governing body owned. It was very, very wealthy. It
Yeah.
was a big, huge estate.
We got to build this place
And
for those who are going to return at the
that's right.
resurrection.
That
We
was
got to
their-
teach them.
That
That's where
was
we're
the
going to house
reason
them.
why they had that other property. I forgot the name of it. It's kind of an odd name. But anyway, it ended up that they quietly sold it. Why?
Yes.
Why? If they're prophets or men who speak for God or hear the Holy Spirit and they're told to buy that property because we're going to use it to train people later on, well, guess what? It didn't happen. That's just, to me, another false thing they heard from God,
Yep.
and it didn't happen. So they quietly, secretly, whatever kind of secretly, sold it. That's
Yep.
just crap.
Yep.
Why would they need to sell it? Why would they sell it? if that's
Exactly.
what God told
Why
them
did
to
they
have
sell all
it?
their property? What happened to all the money at Brooklyn Bethel?
It's like,
You know what I mean? What happened? Do the people even care?
yeah,
The people
really.
throw money at this thing, you know, hoping the end comes tomorrow. They just take their wallet out. Watchtower says mail 1 million letters to Russia, and they're writing letters. You know, Watchtower says, you know,
Yeah.
Simon says, "Give us your money, give us
Yeah.
your homes, give us your kingdom hall." Think about that. They've already turned over all the kingdom halls to governing body. So if we had another pandemic, right?
Right.
That's a perfect opportunity. They push them right off into the new system that they set up, which
Right.
is the
And-
you know, the tablets and
Right. And it makes it easy for them to sell them now.
yes,
You know, the way they set it up.
yes.
Really smart.
And so I realized through this thinking, I realized that the governing body has three major enemies. The first enemy is time. Time has run out for the governing body. It has. They've lied again, and they continue to still lie. They will not repent. These men are bought and paid for. These men have sold their soul for soup. They really have.
Yes.
They've sold their
indeed.
soul for soup. I watch them. How can you guys lie? How can you lie about the generation prophecy that I preached in, that I spoke it word for word, what you said exactly out of the Paradise Revelation book? And then you say, "Oh, it wasn't that. It had to do with whatever." And you make up all this garbage. How can you do that and have a conscience? You men don't have a conscience.
And you know, I'm just gonna say, because it's worth saying. If you haven't heard the saying, maybe not. But you know, fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice. Oh, I'm sorry. Fool me once, shame on you. Shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me.
Shame on me.
Because I'm stupid enough to believe you a second freaking time.
Yes.
How many times we're gonna believe these fools?
Yes.
Just saying.
Yes. So here's the thing. So the assembly, what was the message? What was the real message in assembly? You know what I didn't hear, guys? I'm going to tell you what I did not hear at the assembly was paradise. I didn't hear a damn thing about the
No,
paradise.
it was just camp.
It was just camp. It
Right.
was like, oh my God. Now here's the thing. They're making a prophecy without making a prophecy. They're doing it through a movie. They could say we didn't say it was just a movie. You see how slick they are?
Oh, that is slick.
And so they're slick, man.
Wow.
They did it through the movie. You know, the people running through Africa or wherever they were at and running from the natives and hiding and trying to get to camp and, you know,
And camp
fear,
was
fear.
a desert. Camp was nothing
Oh,
good at all. It was just
no.
a waiting place. Yeah,
Yes.
so they had no carrot this time.
That's right. It was just get to
No,
camp.
just to get to
See, they've
camp.
got the fear elevated. Be ready to flee. Grab your to-go bag, you know, get to the camp,
Yes.
get to the camp. So they've traded paradise. Think about this. These people, these easy pickings, because they're brainwashed, they've sold their soul. They've given everything to Watchtower. And what do they get? Paradise? No, no paradise now. Now it's camp. That's it, camp. And some here's some clothes. Here's some blankets, and go over by the fire and just wait till Jehovah says it's time to go.
And there's your tent over there, like everybody else's, just a basic white tent.
Yes. So I realized there's some enemies that the Watchtower has to watch exclusively. They have to watch this. They have to watch one, you know, this time, right? That's why they're moving so quick with this new system, getting these people trained on a laptop.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure you, there's another pandemic coming. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no
And
doubt.
and they'll be more than happy to shut down, and they got them all geared up, and they've got them all dialed into the channel. They got the apps. They know how to use it. You know, they got the movies going, you know. And the movies, and here's the thing. Here's the second enemy. So the first enemy was time. The second enemy of the governing body is thinking. Thinking. They don't want you to think. You remember, Angela, when we were watching the whole thing? It was don't think. Just keep trusting in Jehovah. Just keep running to camp. Single focus on camp. It wasn't.
That's right.
It was, and one of the guys, you know, we've already talked about this, but he wanted to go back where it was safe because people were dying on the journey and all kinds of misfortunes. It was dangerous. So he wanted to go back where it was safe, where he had his job, where he had this, and he did eventually go back. And
by himself.
But the message was, don't think. Governing body says. So they got to keep you out of here. And what's happening is, you know, governing body has lied, and governing body has lied again, and governing body has lied again, and governing body continues to lie.
Yeah.
So they're not going to repent. They're not going to return around. So because they're liars, they've got to keep you. They know they've lied. You can see it. You can see them just making it up as they go now. You know what I mean? They're not even interested, really.
Yeah.
And so they've got us all into movies and all this stuff. But people are wanting to think. But how do you keep them out of thinking? I'll tell you how you keep them out of thinking. Fear. You got to keep the fear elevated. That's why Tony Morris, I think, said, yeah, you know, we're moving. Jehovah's organization is moving. You know, and he almost had you thinking you were on a horse. You know, Jehovah's moving. It's going up. It's like the Merkaba. It's going up. It's going down. Willy Wonka. It's going sideways. It's going this way. It's going that way. Hang on, people. We're going for a ride. You want to stay with Jehovah? Hang on for your life, because we got to make it to the end. It's going every which way.
And you know, Dan, the one guy who did think a little bit went off and went back home. He didn't make it to camp.
One guy used his brain instead of governing body's implant.
And then guess what? It proved not a good idea to use your brain and think, because when he got there, everything was burnt. So they're saying, don't think.
Yeah, they kept showing the guy back home picking up the rubble and looking at it, and then they showed the people back at the camp getting their supplies.
Yeah, in the rubble is so happens.
Not paradise.
In the rubble was a watchtower or something, one of the wake magazine or something, and they're opening it, looking through the charred remains of it, and that's all that was left. So the message is fear,
and follow.
Yeah, don't think. Yeah, don't think. Don't go back home and use your thinking brain to go back home, because guess what? There's nothing but charred remains there. So fear. Don't look back.
There's nothing there. There's nothing there. That's the message. There's nothing there. It's only the voice that's coming through an internet connection, because eventually those assemblies will just be internet connections.
Yeah.
They've weaned them. They've weaned them off of actual people. And I think it's a way governing body is separating themselves from the people.
Yeah. And
it's all internet.
And in a weird kind of way about the thinking thing again, it's kind of like, don't bother thinking, because all it's going to do is just land you where you don't want to be.
That's right.
It's all gone, guys. Don't even look back. Just look forward, look at, to the camp, trust us implicitly, just follow our directions, obey us, and everything will be fine. And so it is fear. It's a bottom line fear. If you don't obey, things will not go well for you. That guy spent all that time and dangerous to go back home just to find everything in charred remains. And so he didn't obey, right?
That's right.
So it's just don't listen to anyone, just listen to us,
Yep.
right? Don't follow your heart. Don't just listen to us, because fear, look what's going to happen if you go back. You have no one, you're alone, and your house is burned up.
Yep.
Yeah. So they're really making it very
Oh,
clear.
yeah.
You better obey us or you're in deep doom.
And with those videos, they can reach a lot more of your senses.
Oh yeah.
You know, just like music.
Oh man.
Music can open your heart,
Oh
right?
yeah.
These things that they're doing with the visuals and the animation and the music. And
Yeah, because every year when they do these little dramas, you know how they do the dramas? I didn't see one this year, but maybe they did one. Oh, they did the movie drama.
Yeah.
Right. But every year they did a drama, and at the end, it was always like, see, you shouldn't have left Jehovah. You should never have left. Look what happened to them. And so, some of them barely made it back. It's the same message every time, even this time. You know?
it is.
Yeah. It's
And
interesting.
so Ramapo, if it ever does get together, I don't know that it will. I heard they were having some kind of restrictions on the land or something, trying to get permits or something. But whether it does or not, they don't need it. You can see they can make movies without it. You know, they're just going to build another free piece of property and sell it whenever they feel like selling it.
Yeah.
But the
Always
fact
gonna
of the
be
matter
worth
is, if it does get set up, they'll have it. They'll have that thing running 24/7.
Yeah.
24/7, pumping fear, doubt, and worry. Don't stand on your own. Don't use your own thinker. Don't you start thinking now. Don't you start doing that. Don't you start using that thing God gave you.
You're
You know,
right.
we're the mediator here. We're the connection, right? We're the ones who Jehovah appointed over all of his belongings, and you are that belonging. And so we're the distributors of that. You don't interfere with that with your thinking. You just follow. Like Angela said, the guy says, well, actually, I think it's a good idea to go back home. And I went back home and he's pretty much abandoned.
Yeah, now my dad is a Seventh-day Adventist, and they have the satellite once again. So it's 24/7 programming. They've got some sort of music, some past, choir thing, and they've got preachers, and they've got classes. You name it, they keep them busy 24/7. So see, you have no need to go anywhere else, and that's the whole idea. And so pretty much they don't. They just watch hour after
They
hour.
don't
My
even have
dad's
to go to
retired.
church. There's nobody
they
in the
don't.
churches. There's 12, 20 people in
Yeah,
there.
and if you want to watch church, you just turn on Sunday, or for them it's
But
Saturday.
you better give them their tithes.
Yep, and yeah, that's right.
You know,
So anyway, it's messed up. It's because they're going to make sure that you are kept busy with their programming 24/7 in the Seventh-day Adventist programming.
Yep.
And it's the same here with Ramapo being done. It will be a 24/7. Keep you
24/7.
busy. No
Probably
need
have
to.
their own satellite.
They'll
too.
probably tell you not to watch anything else except for them. They'll probably
Yeah.
do that. I
Why
bet
wouldn't
you.
they copy that?
Right?
You know,
Why
give them
not?
their
It
own satellite
works.
dish. It works.
People are fully,
Oh, yeah.
hooked.
They're fully hooked and
Yeah.
they feel safe.
Yeah, they do.
And so I thought it was interesting too, because I'm talking about an elevation in fear. They've elevated fear.
Mhm.
They've elevated the separation between you and your family. They've elevated it. And the start of that elevation was Toni Morris,
No, the
a
children.
man saying, no, the other guy said that, but the one where Toni Morris said, won't you be glad when they're all dead? Think about that. That created a bigger division. I mean, it wasn't just, I hope they come back. It was, won't you be glad when they're all dead? And he lit that match. And I mean, that's a real big separation
It
between you and
is.
your loved ones. I don't even think about them. They're gone.
And then you're your children,
And then it was the baby.
right?
And then it was Stephen Lett that said the babies. I'm going to tell you what a baby is, by God. I mean, that's the way he said it.
Yeah.
He said it crude.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, you think they're cuddly and cute and you want to kiss their toes, but I'm going to tell you, a baby's an enemy of Jehovah until likewise.
And then what?
So,
like a year or two ago, they were talking about the animals again, keeping you separate from your animals.
yeah, your animal. See, anything that activates the heart. See, the heart was meant to be open. That's why Jesus said, go give the guy a hand over there. Don't care if he's a Samaritan or whatever. Go give the man a hand. That man is your brother. Love your neighbors yourself. Well, I'm going to tell you something. Witnesses are the ones that walk on the other side of the street every day. You remember Jesus said, don't be like the church people that walk on the other side and go, oh, he's dirty.
Story.
Oh, he's not one of us. Oh, he's one of them. He deserves what he got. Well, see, witnesses do that every day. Witnesses are the people walking on the other side of the street. In fact, the guy that's laying down, the Good Samaritan, they're saying, won't you be glad when he's dead soon?
Oh my
That's
gosh.
what they're saying.
Oh dear.
Won't you be glad when he's dead?
That makes me sick just to think of it. When I think about all these stories of kids getting thrown out, on their heads out of their homes and not allowed to come back home no matter what, even if they're starving, having to live out on the
So
street.
we've heard suicides.
So many, you guys, and to think that that is exactly like the Good Samaritan, identical to
It
that.
is.
Because
But
it's
only
like,
they're wishing them dead,
yeah,
especially if you left. If you left and you fell down, we saw a guy the other day, I think it was a Mormon online, you remember?
heartbreaking.
And it was the same thing. He got sideways with the church, and he did a couple TikToks, and he says, I just tell you, it's, you know, it's not a good thing. It's a bad thing. And he just expressed a couple negative deals about it. Well, his dad apparently was, what do they call him, of the home? The you know, like the
Bishop
landlord or something, you know. But he was like the mandarin of the home, you know. He just barges in and said, son, you're out. You're out.
You have so many
Get out.
days to get, what was it, 2 days to get
Yeah,
out?
and his mother was there, and this kid's crying online, and he's like,
Oh, he
"You-
gave him an eviction.
yeah,
That's
gave
what it was,
him
a
eviction
legal
notice, his whole
eviction.
family."
And then he moved to his grandma's, and when she didn't even want to answer the phone, but anyway, ended up going there. And then his dad showed up there with an eviction because he owned his grandma's house. And so he evicted him out of his grandma's house. And now he's out on the street, out on his head, crying, has nowhere to go. He's homeless.
Yes,
And they don't care.
no,
And you know, same with the different stories that I know. The kid tried to come back in the middle of winter. He's freezing. He's hungry. Well, did you apologize to the elders because they sexually abused you and you said something to them about it? And I told you not to. I told you to keep your mouth shut. No, I'm not, I will not apologize because I don't need to apologize. They did the wrong. Then you're out. Get out. And he shoves him away. And he eventually killed himself. You guys,
Yeah,
this happens
sad.
every day. This is a long-standing
yeah, and see, and
story.
so Stephen Lett, you know, validated it. Your babies, you shouldn't even be bonded to until we tell you to bond to them, until we've approved it, until Watchtower has stamped it and says, we think he's one of us. We think he's one. That's what Stephen Lett said. And the rest of them that left, they're dead. Just leave the dead behind. You know what I
What
mean?
do they do with their children that they kicked out of their house? It's cold as ice.
Yeah.
It's leave them on the side of the road and let them die.
So-
There's no heart.
And that's the
no
point
heart.
I'm making. They will not let that heart open.
No.
Because if that heart can just open a little bit, we'll bring that boy back in that's on the street.
Right.
You know, we'll go love that person out there that's sitting on his bumper that's
Right.
trying to get back in the Kingdom Hall. You know, so they keep the heart clamped down. It's an enemy. The mind is an enemy of governing body. They don't want the mind to think.
Or
Think
the
about
heart.
that.
The heart.
The
to
mind
feel.
or heart, or the heart to feel. That's exactly right. And so they have to keep fear alive. They have to keep fear going. They have to pump fear in you. They have to they're literally telling you now,
And keep
don't think, no thinking aloud in Watchtower.
and don't let your heart be activated in any way, because all it's going to do is get you in trouble with us, because we told you to kick them out and you better have done it. And so you're disconnected from your heart, because if you dare open your heart, then you're going to have to disobey governing body, for crying out loud. And they know that, so they make you scared to death. Do not disobey us. If we told you to kick them out, you kick them out, or you're not in good standing with the church, and God forbid that you do that. And so they keep you disconnected from your kids and from your own heart,
From the world. The world is an enemy, right? The government
anybody
is going to
gets
be
kicked
destroyed,
out.
wiped out. Everything's an enemy, but governing body. I'm going to tell you what governing body really is. Governing body is your first love, and your last love, and your only love. Governing body is God. You know what I mean? It's everything. It reigns above everything. They'll tell you that. They said you
Right.
better listen to us, like your life depends on it, Stephen Leck, because it does.
Yeah.
And so that is your first love. That's above all else. That's above your family. That's above your babies that we don't know yet. That, you know, they could be really evil. We don't know yet. I mean, your babies, your family's gone, the world's your enemy. I mean, governing body has made themselves your first love.
You're God. Actually.
Yeah.
And you know, and then God is not even second. I mean, because it says clearly how you're to treat people in the Good Samaritan story that Jesus told, and they're absolutely not obeying that law, nor are they respecting the prodigal son, where you allow the prodigal son to make mistakes and go out and sow his oats, if you will, and then God takes him back as soon as he's done with all of that. Done with all of that, he comes home and he's restored. But the governing body doesn't do that either. They don't do anything the way God says. And it also says that when you mark someone and put them out of the church, that you are to not allow that time to be too long, lest the person become discouraged and may fail, like commit suicide, right? That's the idea. But does the governing body do that? Do they consider that we've left him out there too long? We need to bring him back. We need to make sure he's okay. We don't want to discourage him. No, they don't. They keep you out and they mean business. It's for good, because otherwise you stand to possibly corrupt our organization and cause people to not obey us.
Start people thinking.
Yeah, yeah, they might start thinking. So they scare the crap out of everybody to obey them being God, as opposed to God, the real God.
Oh yeah.
That's a problem. That is a real problem, Dan. It's
Is
idolatry.
Yes, and isn't it amazing that they've changed over? I mean, they've gotten rid of the Bibles. They've changed them all over the tablets, also they can run without any kingdom halls. Like I say, if a pandemic comes in again, then they'll shut down they'll sell another 100,000 kingdom halls. You know what I mean? And I think it's interesting too. We already said that they don't have to promise anything anymore. They can deliver a message and yet say they didn't say it. It was only a movie.
Yeah.
Isn't that
clever?
Oh my
So
God.
we're at 38 minutes, Dan. Should we wrap it up?
Yeah, we'll wrap it up. And last thing I wanted to say was I had a thought here about why. Why is governing body doing this? I wanted to touch on the why. And I'll tell you the biggest reason why. It's easy. It's easy money. It's big money. I mean, Watchtower didn't get rich on its own, right? They didn't make billions of dollars. I mean, when you actually look at Watchtower Society, it's billions and billions and billions of dollars, right? In real estate. And the people will work for free. It's like Ramapo. I mean, bam, instant Harvard, community, walking ponds and lakes in one of the most premier places. It's free. It's all free. Think about it. The people in Watchtower, the brothers and sisters are paying for their own illusion. They build their own halls, right? For free, just the labor, right? They work in their halls for free. The elders don't even get to get paid. They build all of Brooklyn stuff. They send all their kids to build all their skyscrapers and things. It's all free. So why would they stop? And so here they've got billions and billions, and now they're setting them up on, their direct deposit, all these different things. They're collecting money every way they can. They say, oh, we just got a thing in the back of the hall. No, you go on governing body JW.org and watch those guys beg and beg and beg and beg and beg for your money.
Okay, so I want to tell you what I saw at the convention that we just went to in Nampa, Idaho at the Ford Center. Okay, so what they did was they had these big boxes, kind of like trash can size, only they're square. And yeah, you might put your recycling type things, square boxes, and about, I don't know, 7, 8 people were carrying these boxes. They went in front of the audience, right in the first part of the last sermon. Again, what do you call it, Dan? Sermon, talk, whatever you guys call it. And they're going, 8 of them, right in front of the audience on the side aisle, and then somehow upstairs, and then across right behind the stage, so everybody could see them carrying the boxes. And then when the church service was almost over, they came back in and did the same thing in reverse. So you clearly saw the donation boxes.
Oh yeah,
that was heavy duty hint, wasn't it?
Yes.
Oh man.
Well, anyway, we just wanted to point out those couple of things. And the other thing is they're narcissists. A narcissist won't admit when they're wrong. No. These guys don't admit when they're wrong. They just lie. And I think it's interesting when you're outside looking back in, it's interesting to see men that have sold their soul for soup. You know what I mean? They're just making money. They don't care about this stuff.
No.
They're not even promising paradise anymore. I think that's interesting.
That is interesting.
That it's camp now. I didn't hear anything about the paradise. Won't you be glad when we're in the paradise and build homes? You didn't hear none of that.
No, you did. Oh, the only closest they got to it is that it seemed as though they were showing you where they finally got out of camp and they were reuniting with all of their loved ones that had been put into prisons. That was as close they came to it,
Yeah, and in the beginning of the second half, they were showing prisons and people going in prisons and coming out of prisons.
No, just in there,
Well, I saw some kind of come out. I saw a man that was in there and he was embracing the guys that came out.
I thought that was
but I have a feeling what the message was there is if we go to the camps, we won't end up there. I don't know. You know what I mean? The
I
camps.
just thought it was part of the persecution. That's how I
It
saw
was. It was part
It
of
was
the
part of the
persecution.
persecution, and because they were huddling together in the prisons, reading their Bibles, and doing these different things wherever they were being held hostage. Whether it was prison or some other encampment that was not the camp of the witnesses, that they were doing it for Jehovah. They were suffering for Jehovah, and then finally, when the family got out of camp, they were reuniting with those people, and they kept showing this reunion with these people that you love, your children, your sons, whoever they were that were in these places, reading and huddling and waiting together, like you were in camp and they were in prisons. But you finally got to reunite. So that was the closest to paradise they came, and they never mentioned paradise at all,
No.
nor the word.
No, isn't that amazing?
Yeah. It's
And
amazing.
so, anyway, guys, that's our talk for today. We hope you enjoyed it. And if you know somebody that's on their way out, a chemo, somebody that you think would be interested in just looking at things from a little bit different perspective, like we talk about here, we're talking from a standpoint of a person that's thinking and using their mind to think,
Yeah, that's the whole idea of the show.
reasoning on it,
Yeah.
and so that people can sit back and get another perspective. So if you think that it's worth sharing, please share it. Do whatever you want with it. Post it, share it, whatever.
You guys, again, the idea is that we're trying to help to sort and analyze and think, get your brain going, reason with you, so that you can then feel good about your decision having left this organization. Because it's important that you have a good conscience. We need to feel good in our conscience that we made the right decision. So, if you feel like you need to be uplifted and assured that you did the right thing, we're here to show you our reasoning why we don't want to go back. And hopefully then you'll see why we don't go back, and maybe you won't want to go back either. You can see that they're clearly wrong. So anyway, same with Worldwide Church of God. They got the same thing going on. Seventh-day Adventists, in my opinion, same thing.
And it says in the Bible clearly, if they've lied, don't fear them.
Yeah.
It says don't fear them. And it also says get out from amongst them if you don't want to share in their destruction. And or share and giving them more of your prosperity. I've heard that they're really asking for property now, and they're asking to give their property to Jehovah. And, so many things. And I've never heard them. There was never direct deposit. I mean, when I was growing up, there was never nothing like direct deposit. And they're all just being lulled along little by little. They're signing their homes away. They're giving them hundreds of thousands of dollars. They're giving them extra houses, cars.
You don't want to be supporting their work, you guys.
No.
And we just heard this guy the other day who was just sharing his heart about what went on in that church when he was going there as a kid, being sexually abused, and he's coming out all over the place talking about it, just being honest finally. And he's older now, and finally he's admitting these horrific things that were done to him in there. And so, there's a lot coming out every day, and it's wrong. So anyway, we don't want to support it, right? So,
All right, guys, that's it for this time. I look forward to talking to you again on the next video.
Amen.
All right. Thank you for tuning in. We love you all.
We love you.
Thank you for all your comments always. Okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.